many times it was extremely gratifying to see him from about 1,000 feet just kind of just tinkling down. You know, it's a very little slight little wing beat, and when they would come down at a stoop from that high pitch, every once in a while you see them just whoom, just pump those wings, just a short pump, and you could actually visually see them just shoot forward after they did this. And these stoops from that high were generally not successful in the initial stoop, but even from 300 to 400 feet pitch, the birds, being superb wild flying peregrines, would stoop, throw up, stoop again, throw up, stoop a third time. And it was many times the third thing, when the dove was running out of a little steam, you know, and here he dodged 6 stoops, you see. Now, no, you're wrong. Many of them dodged 6 stoops and went on to live, but not all of them.
Well, what's the first step that you would do in training a cast to fly together?
Well, you can do many things. You can. We used to at times at night put the birds on screen perches, and you put them so that they just can't get their feet together. They could touch each other. They'd just be within a few inches of each other. You can also fix it when they're loose in a room, or you can just put their blocks far enough away so that they ate their food close by each other, but they actually couldn't get a hold of each other. These are all things. You probably can think of a lot of other things to make them have close association with the other bird you want to fly them with.
Yeah.
And this association is how you would do it. Tom Smiley, a long time ago, said when I was running all over the country in Canada, hawking this, that, or the other, grouse, partridge, sage grouse, what you really need to do is find something that's in your own backyard that you, as a working man, can do your job, and then go hawking regularly. We had a huge storm, and this pond was down the valley, and it washed out. So I got a bulldozer in there and plugged up the big gap when the water ran over the pond, and the pond was dry then. It eroded it out so badly. So I got it fixed, and I thought, well, I better put something on this bare dirt to hold it, so I planted it with wheat. And wheat will germinate almost any month of the year. And I don't remember what month it was, but it was probably early spring. And here I had, well, I guess it was in the fall, because anyway, before I knew it, I had wheat growing down there, and pretty good stand of it. And here were all these doves eating this wheat. Well, you know, a devious little falconer's mind, I thought, gee, these things need to be caught. And so I had access to tundra tiercels in those days. And most people, fortunately, wanted the big falcons, and I always wanted the small tiercels. And so I started flying. Tiger was fairly successful at quail from the first, and Speedy came along, and his only attribute at first was he just was a fast flyer, but he never went up very high at all, and that's where he got his name Speedy. And so, but Tiger went up and waited on fine, and so I decided, well, I'll use the old make hawk principle, and I'll fly them together, and it worked out that within about a fortnight, I was catching doves with a cast of tundra tiercels. Colonel made a stoop. A dove was coming on like this, and he made a stoop from a 90-degree angle. And when he got down there, you could see one foot just reach out as he went by and grab that dove.
Yeah.
And of course, that's doing it the hard way. When you come down behind, it's sort of like a pursuit plane, you know. You bind to them like that bird did today on the quail.
Yeah. It's
reasonably straightforward. But you come down at 90 degrees, you stick out one foot, grab that. It's pretty precise, you know.
Man.
And Tiger, Colonel was a bird that when you turn him loose within 2 or 3 circles, you'd be 300 feet high. He just came out off your fist like a racehorse.
Wow.
And he was very good. I made the mistake of trying to get multiple kills out of him, but taking the kills away, and that does not work lots of times. I mean, you're just basically, particularly at this point in my life, if I make a kill, I go home.
Yeah.
And that's, but if you push the birds, you can get by with it for a while, but in the long run, they'll catch up with you.
Yeah.
Now, that's totally different from what I'm talking about Tiger and Speedy. They deliberately cached these birds and stashed these birds and came back to wait on. But I'm talking, if you take them, they're on the ground, they go to bird, you substitute another piece of meat and take it. You don't totally fool them.
Yeah.
And
they'll accept it up to a point.
Right, because you don't really give them a full crop. You just give them a very partial little tidbit there, and a tiring of some type, and they realize that it's a rouge. All these years I flew doves, I basically went out my back door, picked up my hawks, and went hawking. And this makes it so much easier for the working man to do this. And they're repeatedly flown in the same place, at the same quarry, and you can fly in a lot higher condition, the bird, if that's the situation, you know. Unless they hit the dove and get some feathers, they don't tail chase doves.
How large a field do you think it would take to fly doves? How far away does the closest fence have to be?
Oh, I'd say the closest fence needs to be about 500 feet away.
Yeah.
Barbed wire fences are. Now, I tell you what you can do, and a lot of falconers never seem to get this through their head. You can change your situation by, like, when I've got a place where barbed wire is a problem, I just, at my own expense, string another barbed wire right below it so that the dove is not going to have the inclination to fly through that fence. You see what I mean?
No.
Okay, if you have a woven wire fence, 39-inch woven wire fence, I mean, the doves don't fly through those little woven wire fences, even though they could conceivably. But then you go up about another foot, and you've got a piece of barbed wire. Well, I'm saying to you, put another piece in between the woven wire and the barbed wire, so that the dove's going to have to go over it,
Oh, I see.
and not through it.
Yeah.
And that's when you get in trouble. I mean,
Yeah.
I've had several of my birds hit barbed wire fences, and it can be rough on them. I've had a bird break its wing by hitting a barbed wire fence, but I was able to salvage the bird.
Yeah. When you're flying a cast of birds and you decide it's like, you know, they haven't caught anything and it's time to go home, you know, sun's setting or something like that, what do you do as far as throwing out a lure is concerned? Do you use two lures, or you just toss out one lure?
Well, I had two lures to bring them down, yes. But birds that are that successful, you're not going to get them to call them to a beanbag. I have to use dead pigeon lures with false jesses on their legs. But I had two lures, yes.
Okay. Say when one of your tiercels would catch something, what would the other bird do? How would they act around a kill with each other?
Don't ever remember having any serious problems with passage birds, particularly passage peregrines, tiercels. They just seem to accept it.
Yeah.
You know?
It's interesting how in the wild they do things. I mean, I guess so many things in falconry we have observed in the wild that they've done naturally. Like I was up in the Texas Panhandle a while back, a couple of years ago, and I was looking at a pond to look for ducks for my bird. And I look up, and there's a prairie falcon waiting on above me, because she sees all these little birds in the bushes flushing around, and she's just waiting on, you know, as if she was a trained hawk. So I started flushing, you know, trying to flush them for her. And I've also heard things about how other falconers have had wild birds come in and hunt with their hawks. So
I've had a wild peregrine. I had a female peregrine come in and stoop at the doves right with Tiger and Speedy. I think it was actually Tiger and Colonel. I had another peregrine tiercel. I flew with Tiger there for a while. And it was rather interesting. Tiger was upset. He was an older intermewed bird at that time, whereas Colonel was an immature bird at that time. And you could tell he kind of flew around behind the haggard female and thought she was mama, you know. And but it was rather gratifying, even though that bird stooped with my birds. It was Tiger that caught the dove. And I also had prairie falcons come in and fly right with them, and sometimes stoop with birds. A lot of times prairie falcons can be a nuisance, though.
Yeah.
They're not. It's not 100% sure they're going to cooperate. In fact, I've had some. Well, I've had a friend that brought his peregrine tiercel here, and there was quite a fight with a wild prairie falcon, and his transmitter was knocked off the bird. We found the transmitter, but the bird was never seen again. And so it can be bad news of the prairie falcon. But peregrines, I think there's a much more just innate reason for them to cooperate with each other. I've had several casts. I had a cast of a passage prairie tiercel and a passage tundra tiercel. And interesting enough, the prairie was the one that caught the game, but the peregrine, who was ultra tame, would go in and grab the kill and just anchor the prairie down. Otherwise, the little prairie falcon would have flown to the tallest tree to eat his catch. But the little prairie falcon was very deadly to anything that moved within a certain rim. I did not particularly catch doves with this cast. There are a lot of sparrows, a lot of starlings, etc. that were caught. You know, it's nice to look back. I was very fortunate. I was enthusiastic about doing this thing. I wanted to be successful at it. I worked hard to be successful at it. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I can honestly say that most of the people in the falconry world that I've met, I thoroughly enjoyed. There's been some exceptions to that, but most of them I do. And I think it's really amazing how all falconers, I think, have very little qualms about asking a falconer to do them a favor. I mean, I had people pick up birds at the airport for me, and this, that, or the other. And it's a common occurrence. And all falconers, it seems to be just sort of a brotherhood.
Yeah.